Did you know Apple's legendary 1984 Super Bowl ad, the one that introduced the Macintosh computer, almost never aired? This groundbreaking commercial wasn't just about selling a computer, it was a cultural event that redefined advertising and positioned Apple as a revolutionary force against conformity. This remarkable story involves a famous movie director, a terrified board of directors, and a last-minute decision that changed marketing history, and most people only know the surface-level details. In the early 1980s, the personal computer market was dominated by IBM, often perceived as a corporate giant representing the status quo. Apple was preparing to launch the Macintosh, a radically new computer with a graphical user interface, and needed a way to make a massive impact. They hired the advertising agency Chiat, known for its creative and sometimes rebellious approach, to create an ad that would capture the revolutionary spirit of the Macintosh. Here's where the marketing brilliance begins. Inspired by George Orwell's novel 1984, the agency conceived an ad depicting a dystopian future where conformist masses are controlled by a televised Big Brother, implicitly representing IBM. What's particularly interesting is who they hired to direct it. Ridley Scott, fresh off directing the sci-fi classic Blade Runner. Scott brought a cinematic, high production value feel rarely seen in commercials at the time, using stark visuals and hundreds of extras, including actual British skinheads for authenticity. Something you might not realize, when the finished ad was shown to Apple's board of directors, they hated it. They found it too dark, too expensive, and feared it would alienate potential customers. They instructed Chiat to sell back the expensive Super Bowl airtime they had purchased. The psychological insight was remarkable. The ad didn't show the product at all until the very end. Instead, it focused on creating an event and positioning Apple not just as a computer company, but as a force for liberation and individuality against oppressive conformity. The outcome was astonishing. Despite the board's disapproval, Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak loved the ad. Chiat managed to keep one of the Super Bowl slots, and the 60-second commercial aired just once nationally during Super Bowl 18 on January 22nd, 1984. Here's what's truly fascinating. The ad generated unprecedented media buzz. News programs replayed it, newspapers wrote about it, and it created enormous anticipation for the Macintosh launch 2 days later. The cultural shift was extraordinary. The 1984 ad is widely credited with transforming the Super Bowl from just a football game into a major showcase for high-profile cinematic advertising. It set a new standard for creativity and production value in commercials. This marketing campaign didn't just launch a product, it launched a brand identity for Apple as the innovative underdog challenging the establishment, in an image that persists to this day. But the story's influence extends far beyond Apple. This ad demonstrated the power of event marketing, using a single high-impact moment to generate massive awareness and conversation. Something most advertising discussions overlook, the ad's success wasn't just about the creative concept, it was also about the strategic placement during the Super Bowl, reaching a huge captive audience. What's particularly striking is how a commercial that barely showed the product and was almost canceled became one of the most famous and effective advertisements of all time. It proved that advertising could be art, provoke thought, and create cultural moments. The technique was so effective that companies now spend millions vying for attention during the Super Bowl, hoping to replicate the buzz that Apple achieved in 1984. And here's what most people never realize. The ad that defined Apple's rebellious image and revolutionized advertising was a gamble that almost didn't happen, saved by the conviction of its creators and founders. This is marketing manipulation. The campaigns we explored didn't just sell, they changed how we think, act, and live. Understanding them gives you power. Want to apply these same principles to sell a lot more of your stuff? Visit benmcgary.com to learn how. Until then, subscribe for more.